guys. Sorry, I wasn't quite ready. I haven't done one of these in a long time in regard to my educational experience in Ireland. Um, so it's coming to a close. I'm only going to be in Ireland till August 27th, and then I'm done. So I kind of wanted to start doing a few videos about the closing of my time here. This may be the last one, or I may do one or two more. We'll see how it goes. But so this one, I really wanted to kind of talk about my studies in particular, although I'll talk about lots of things, but in my studies in particular. So I left Ireland in the beginning of April. I went home first to New York and then to South Carolina to visit my brother and then go home to my house. And I stayed there. Well, I kind of traveled around a lot, which you probably have seen. So I went to New York, and then I went to South Carolina. In the middle of May, I went with Dr. Quinn, with the College of Charleston students, back to Ireland for 2 weeks. And then I went back home at the end of May because I had people who were graduating, grandchildren who were graduating. And then I came back to Ireland June 2nd. So now I've been here since June 2nd, and I'll be here until August 27th, not going home in the middle at all. So this part of my educational journey is I don't have any classes. So what I'm doing in the summer is I'm doing field work, which means I found a topic. I had to get it approved by the ethics board. It was approved back in March. And now I start doing some research on that topic, which that's what I've been doing all summer long. And then at the end of the research, then I have to write a 10,000 word paper, which is about 50 pages. So I'm actually almost done with all of that. I've done all of my interviews and I've written most of my paper. I'm actually at 10,000 words, but I still have to go in and pretty it up and fix the grammar and stuff like that. But I've done all the hard stuff, I think. I had a really good theory or way in which I made this happen, because I didn't start my field work at all until I came back here June 2nd. Some of my friends, my classmates, they went away in April and did their field work. They stayed places. Some, one went to Scotland. Two went to Scotland, actually. One went to a hostel. They all went different places and did different things. So my place is in Ireland. Those people went different places because they live in Ireland. We had to go someplace external to where we actually lived. So anyhow, my topic, I want to tell you a little bit about my topic, which I may have talked about at some other point in time in one of these, but I'll talk about it again in case I didn't. My topic is cultural competency in the medical field. And what that means, that's a lot of words. But what that means is how good do our doctors do at being sensitive to and aware of people who come from a different culture. And that different culture could be a language issue, or it could be a religious issue, or it could just be a different country. It could be lots of things. For me, the reason I picked this topic, and again, I can't remember if I said this, but if I have, I'll say it again, is because in my undergraduate, in one of my last undergraduate classes, we read a book called The Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down. So go look for that book because it's very interesting. And it had so many cultural aspects in it, but it had a medical aspect in it. And that was that a young girl who was from Hmong, Hmong, who are from Laos, was born in the United States of Hmong parents who had 11 other children, I think, or something like that. And she developed epilepsy. And epilepsy in Hmong is the spirit catches you and you fall down. And they had, and due to their cultural differences, due to a language barrier and due to their cultural differences, this child was not readily diagnosed. She was not um, given the appropriate medication that she was supposed to be given. And so, not because anybody was being negligent, but because there was nobody who spoke Hmong. The parents only spoke Hmong. The only people who spoke Hmong were their children or um, or people who worked in the hospital, cleaning the hospital. So nobody with any medical background. They didn't have professional interpreters. So there was a lot of information that was lost in translation. And the Hmong girl at 4 years old, she had a big seizure and was left brain dead. One of the very interesting parts of the story is because of the cultural difference, the doctors felt like the Hmong family were not taking good care of their child. And they had the child removed from the home for about a year, I think, because they thought that the parents were neglecting her, when actually they took very good care of the child. And when the child was pronounced brain dead in the hospital wanted the child to stay there, be taken off machines, and die in the hospital. The parents took her home, and she lived for 30 years. Is it in a vegetative state? They carried her around on her back like she was a baby. She was a part of the family. She went to the parties. They celebrated her birthday for 30 years in a vegetative state. So took better care of her than any person I know of. So anyhow, the point is that that book really got me thinking, and the book also got a lot of people thinking. It spurred a lot of changes in the medical profession. The fact that we have interpreters now is partially due to this book, and it's very interesting. So anyhow, I wanted to study what it was like now in Ireland, how culturally competent, that's the buzzword, but what it means is how much are our doctors paying attention to the cultural differences and trying to make allowances for them when they're treating patients. Now, Ireland has a lot of immigrants. They have people from big Polish population. They have a lot of Ukrainians are coming here. They have a big Brazilian population. Lots of different languages are spoken here, Pakistan. But anyhow, so I really wanted to interview patients. This is my learning journey. I really wanted to interview patients, but at the level of education that I have, they said no, I couldn't interview patients. Then I wanted to interview doctors, and they said no, I couldn't interview doctors. I really couldn't interview anybody who was affected in a health way. I wanted to go sit in the waiting rooms of doctors' offices or emergency rooms to see were the intake people being culturally aware or kind or making any adjustments for people who didn't speak their language. So all these things that I wanted to do, but I couldn't do. So what we landed on was interpreting. I was almost ready to give up the whole idea, and my professor had this brilliant idea of let's interview the interpreters. So that's what I did. I interviewed 5 interpreters. I interviewed an interpreter teacher. I interviewed an interpreter student of that teacher. I interviewed an interpreter from the United States who was a volunteer. And then I interviewed 2 professional interpreters from Ireland. And I discovered some information. And it was interesting information, and I wrote a 50-page paper on it. And that's all I'll say about that. But so anyhow, that's what my thesis was. That's what I've been working on all summer. So although I don't have, the problem with not having classes to go to is that it's hard to make yourself stop and do something else besides work, right? So because I'm also working full time for the College of Charleston, and I'm writing this paper. So when I wake up in the morning, here, if I wake up at 8 in the morning, it's 3 o'clock in the morning in Charleston. So I may work in the morning until 2 or whatever. And then by the time 2 o'clock comes, I don't want to work anymore. But that's when everybody at the College of Charleston starts waking up. So I'm having trouble with the work-life balance. And someplace in there, I have to write 10,000 words. And I have to research, and I have to interview, and I have to do all these things. So it's been an interesting balancing act. during the week, I spend my time in my apartment. Most of my most of my uh, meetings at the College of Charleston are in my evening, right? So if they have a 2 o'clock meeting, that's 7 o'clock here. So that's my meetings here are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So sometimes I get up in the morning, I start working at 8, and I'm still working at 10 o'clock at night. So it's very strange. But someplace in the middle there, I'm writing. So my writing, I'll tell you how I kept up with my writing. I I found this great book, or I didn't find it, but one of my classmates found it, that talked about the kind of headings you should have in an ethnography, which is the kind of paper that I'm writing. And so I knew what the headings were going to be. It's like an abstract, an introduction. Um, uh, there's literature review, methods, then the interview, the research, and then a conclusion, right? So I put all that together, and I didn't write these notes in another document. All the notes that I took, everything I read, I put right in that document. So I say I didn't do any work on this until I came back in June, but the truth of the matter is that the introduction and the abstract I did before I left because I knew what that was. I had already written a paper on this and I've been interested in this for a year. So I knew what that was. So I had those two things done. And then all the research I did, I just put the information right in the paper. And every time I read another book, I went ahead and cited it. So my citings are all done. I have to go back and find the books and do the citings. I put a little outline in the, when I had a thought, I put a little outline in the paper. So the paper has been developing in a messy way, but then I go back in and I clean it up. So I have my 10,000 words written already. I have each of those headings kind of filled in. They are filled in. They're all filled in. And now I just have to go through and clean it up and make it look pretty. Like I put like quotes that I read in something. I said, oh, this is a great quote. I want to use it in my paper. I cut and paste it and put it in the paper. So now I have to go through and say, as per so-and-so, so-and-so's, so-and-so says in her so-and-so, 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 blah, 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 blah. Do you see what I'm saying? I have to put the words in there to make it make sense. So anyhow, I think I was really smart about that. And then I also read somewhere somebody was telling me do 500 words a day. So I tried to set that limit for myself, and I did not adhere to it all the time. But usually, when I sit down to write, I probably write about 1,000 or 2,000 words. So, and that's the other thing. I, some people can sit down and just start writing, and I can't. I have to be in the mood to write something reasonable for it to come out right. So, so I had to jump on it when I could. So, anyhow, that's what I did. That's what I've done. Paper's almost done. I'm almost done. Um, I have this supervisor that I'm supposed to meet with, and I have met with twice now. And he continues to change the rules on me. I have tea here, so I'm going to drink it if you don't mind. He continues to change the rules on me, but bottom line is, I know what I'm doing. I know what I want to say. And if he gives me a suggestion, I add it in there, but I'm also doing what I wanted to do. So that's what's happening with work and school. So it's been a very interesting, but the moral of that story is I have spent the June and July actually working and not doing that much. Also, I was sick in June. I was really sick for 3 weeks in June. And so some of the interesting things that I did do though is I went to a protest um, that I think was probably made the news in the United States. Um, it was interesting, and I don't know how it was reported in the United States, but let me tell you this. So Ireland or Cork is very pro-Palestinian, and so they have a standing protest and march every Saturday in downtown Cork, and they march through. They have a protest, they do some things, they talk, they sing, and then they march through the streets of um, Cork. So this one day, right after I got back, they were having their normal protest. The alt-right group of people in Ireland were having a counter protest, and then people counter protest, people who disagreed with the alt right. Really, I heard from it from the gay community, but it was um, all that stuff, immigration, um, racial, and other injustices. They were countering the counter. So somebody told me about it, and I thought, oh well, let me go look, and it was bizarre. There were so many people there, so many people. Um, they had they had the alt right separated from the Palestinian and counter alt rights, and they had barriers up so they couldn't get to each other, and it was very interesting. And then the Palestinians went and did their march after 2 hours, and then the counter to the alt right took the stage and started singing songs and stuff like that. And in the alt right, they have posters of Donald Trump. So yeah, there are people in Ireland who also believe like our alt right people believe, which is too much immigration and all that stuff. Um, and so it was very interesting. So that was one interesting thing I did. It did get weird. Like there were lots of ambulances and police cars, and there's not much police presence around usually, and officers on horses. I didn't see any issues. I heard that there may have been, and then it started raining, so I ended up going and eating. So I was just on the fringes, just kind of a fly on the wall. But it was very interesting. I'm glad I went. So that was one thing that was interesting. And then I went to Clonakilty one day. I'm trying to see how long this is. I went to Clonakilty one day, which is a cute little town. They had an old time fair. And in the old time fair, people were all dressed up like people dressed up in the 1800s. So that was a lot of fun. And that was also a band competition. So they had all bands from all over the country there competing. So that was fun. And what was really fun about that trip was that I was walking down the street and somebody called my name. And I turned around and it was a woman who served me a few meals in Skibbereen, which is another town, probably 40 or 50 minutes away. Her son was in the band competition. She recognized me, probably because of my hair, and remembered my name, which I thought was weird because we really didn't speak. I mean, she served me food 3 or 4 times and we did normal stuff, and I was with students usually. And she recognized me and called me. So Ireland is a friggin' small country. Like you say, Charleston is a small city. Well, Ireland is a small country. Somebody knew me. Somebody knew me in Ireland. It was so exciting. Hold on. So there's that. That was fun. And then last week, my brother came and my sister-in-law, and um, they came into Dublin. I went and met them there, and then we tried to drive. Bill tried to drive. He was going to be the driver, but it ended up being too stressful, and we decided he wouldn't have any fun if he were driving because he would be stressing about what not to run over. And the car was weird. It wasn't just the driving, but the car was unusual. It was one of those cars that turn off and turn on, so you don't hear it. So like we didn't think the car was on, but it was. Um, so anyhow, it was too stressful, not just for him, but for us. We were stressed for him. We wanted him to enjoy the trip. I'm sure he could have done it. But what we did instead was we hired a driver. And this driver was with us for 7 days, and he took us all over the place and took us into little nooks and crannies and secret places. And he was amazing. He was so fun. He was so interesting, and told us all kinds of stuff. So that was a great way, and we had a great trip. And we went to Dublin. We stayed in Dublin one night and went to Temple Bar area and hung out there for a little while. Although we were exhausted that night, they were exhausted that night because they traveled all day. The next day we went to Kilkenny. We missed we missed the castle. We were too late to go inside the castle, but we went outside the castle, and he told us all kind of things there. And there was somebody in the fields there that was flying a kite, and they kept coming down and zooming in on us. Anyhow, and it was hot. I know not really hot. I don't know how I'm going to survive South Carolina weather because it was 80 degrees here and I was dying. Um, it's 70 degrees here and it's too hot for me. So I don't know what the heck I'm going to do when I go back to 100 degrees. But then what else? Oh, and then we went to Kilkenny and then we came to Cork for 3 days and we did some things in Cork. We went to Kinsale. We went to a really cool place in Kinsale where somebody did a 9/11 memorial, and it's got a tree and a flag for all the firefighters who died in 9/11. It's very touching. So that was fun. Kinsale was fun, and then we went to Killarney, where we stayed in an amazing hotel. We didn't see much of Killarney because we got there and we stayed in this amazing hotel, and then we went to a show that night, and then we just ended up eating in at the restaurant at the hotel. But the hotel was amazing. I can't remember the name of it, but it was right outside Killarney, so it wasn't in downtown Killarney, so it wasn't like we could walk to a pub. So we didn't see much of Killarney. I was a little disappointed about that. And then we went to the Cliffs of Moher, and then we went to Galway, and spent some time in Galway. Stuck our feet in the water, did some shopping, got caught in the rain, and then we came home. And then we went back to Dublin and stayed at the hotel in Dublin. So it was such a fun trip. So a couple of things so now I've been to a lot of the places that I wanted to go to. I've been to Dingle and Galway, Killarney, all those places were places I wanted to visit. I might want to go back to Killarney and see what their nightlife is like, but I don't know. I don't know if I'll have a chance to do that. But so I only have a few more weekends left because August 27th will be here before you know it. So I've made some plans to stay in a few places. Oh, this weekend I went to Cove. They had a music festival. And later on, I think I'm looking at my phone now so I can see what days I'm doing that. But anyhow, I'm going to go to Limerick and spend the night there. I'm going to go on a Saturday and sleep there. That might be this weekend. And then I'm going to go to, let's see, is Limerick this weekend? Yeah, I'm going to go to Limerick this weekend and spend the night, leave Saturday. It's about a 3-hour bus ride. Leave Saturday, get to Limerick, spend the night, do some sightseeing things, and then come home on Sunday. And then the next week is the 9th. I don't think I'm doing anything on that weekend, but then the weekend of the 16th, which is my birthday, I'm going to stay in Cove where they're having a regatta, which is the whole weekend. And so I'm going to go on Saturday and spend the night there. So I can, apparently they have fireworks and stuff. It'll be fun. So those are the two things I have planned right now. I don't think I have anything else planned. I don't have anything for the 9th or the 23rd, so I might try to do something one of those weekends too. But Limerick was one of those places that you always hear about. I never went to. I'm not sure what's there. I know there's a castle there. But I'm going to go there. And then one of the things that I really want to do is be in the places in the evening, late enough. You know, the pubs come to life here like at 9 or 10, and I want to be there late enough to do that. And I haven't done that yet. I really haven't been in. Well, in Dingle we did that. In Dingle, when we went to eat at 9. They had music there, so that was fun. And then I had my little place. Anyhow, that's what I'm doing. So, in preparation for leaving, which is heavily on my mind, and I have so many things, I've started looking into shipping things home. And I ordered some boxes, which I'm going to get today, and I'm going to start shipping things that I want to keep home. So I bought a lot of little, knickknacks and stuff like that, decorations that I might want to keep. I have several little decorative rugs I did for each of the seasons I might want to bring home. I haven't decided all that I'm going to keep and all that I'm going to throw away. I am not taking home any of my dishes or pots and pans. I have dishes, pots and pans. I have canisters. I have a toaster. I'm not taking that home. I'll probably donate it to the apartments because sometimes people come here without anything and they need to buy stuff. So they might give these to them. And also my apartments, which is student accommodations, during the regular year. This summer they opened it up to like just hotel. but they don't really have hotel facilities to eat and stuff like that. So they have little kitchens in their studios. So they like to put dishes and stuff in there. So anyhow, they may. I think they'll take my stuff. If not, I'm just going to throw it all out. Today I had an issue with my. I bought I bought a duvet cover when I came here. I didn't understand what a duvet cover was. I'm sorry that I didn't know that. If you guys think I'm stupid, but I didn't understand what a duvet cover was, so I got this duvet cover, and it's very thin. I was trying to find just a quilt, and when I was searching in Ireland for a quilt, like a, like I get at home, I couldn't find one, like a quilt set. It usually comes with sheets and pillowcases and a blanket. They couldn't find them on Ireland's Amazon. So I found this duvet cover. It was pretty. I bought it. I came in, and it's this very thin thing that you have to shove a, a, a blanket into. What's it called? The with the feathers in it. My mind just went blank. But anyhow, so then I bought that, and I shoved it in there, and I've been using it all this time, and it was fine. But now, today, in the last couple of weeks, it has been getting this thing in the middle. I can't remember what it's called. The thing in the middle that I put in it, it keeps getting all scrunched up, and I have to keep straightening it out, and I wasn't able to. So I took it out to try to restuff it. My daughter Morwen told me it's like a pillowcase, but you can't shake it. Anyhow, I couldn't get it restuffed today, so I'm getting rid of the duvet cover today. And then in the next week or so, I'm going to start. Maybe this weekend I'm going to start shipping stuff. My boxes are coming today, so we'll see how far I get and how many boxes I have to do. I think I'm going to do 3. That's what I put in my budget. Anyhow, um, this has been an amazing experience. This is the most important part. This has been the most amazing experience. I have enjoyed every minute of it. Yes, I missed my family. Yes, I missed a year worth of my grandchildren's growth. But I saw them every 3 months. I didn't miss that much, and I did miss the birth of my latest great grandchild though. But I will go hug her as soon as I get home, and but this experience has been amazing. It's been completely amazing. I've learned a lot of interesting things, different perspectives from the 20-year-olds. Now, I have all these professors, and they're great. And they all come also from different perspectives. None of them are from Ireland. One is from Bangladesh, one from London, one from Italy. Italy with a Japanese mother, Italian father, Japanese mother, grew up in Italy, speaks a fluent Italian and Japanese, and not such fluent English, but good enough. Um, Anyhow, people from all over the place. So many perspectives. I mean, you have to travel. You have to travel so you can see how many different perspectives there are out there that are different from your own, but yet the same as your own. So, anyhow, uh, it's been an amazing experience. So, not only from them, but from my students, the students who are not my students, but the students who are my peers, who are all 20 years old. Amazing young women, so smart. Um, they have so many ideas. Um, they care about so many things. They are just amazing, and they have taught me so much. And I will miss them. And I hope that I keep in touch with them. We have a little chat group, And I I think I'm going to come back for my graduation, which, by the way, is not until March or April or sometime next year. Um, because they're all coming back, and they're coming from all over, from Belgium and Germany and China, and a couple from the United States, a couple from Ireland, but all over the place. They're amazing young women who've taught me so much. So not only important, this is a weird thing to say, I guess, but not only important is it to um, make contact with people of different cultures than you, or different countries, different whatever, and figure out what their issues are, what they believe in, what they think about, what is important to them, and see things from their perspective. also important to have those conversations with young people, right? Because young people have a different perspective too. I'm old. So, they do, they have different perspectives. And one of the young women really talked to me a lot about the Gaza situation and what her perspective, what their perspective is from it. They are non-binary, and I have a hard time, obviously, sticking with their their pronoun, but they're amazing. They're one of the smartest people I've met here. They have taught me so much, and I enjoy them a lot. And they gave me their perspective on Pakistan, on the Gaza, Pakistan, Israel thing, and it was an interesting perspective. It was different than anything that I would have gotten in the United States. So that's all. That's all. So that's my journey so far. This is long. It's 30 minutes. So, skip through it if it's too boring. But I just want to say this has been an amazing experience. There's nothing about this that I would change. I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad my children encouraged me to do it and my family encouraged me to do it. And yeah, that's all. So more news later about how the getting home goes because I'm a little concerned about that. Bye, guys.